3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Yes, if you're watching the video, how's this for a New Year's Eve shirt? And if I'm in your ear holes right now, you are missing a sparkly mess of magic. This episode's about how to make 2026 your year. There are some trends happening at the end of 2025, and they are the beginning of some really good opportunities for first-time homebuyers in 2026. So let's get you a 2026 game plan.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
Holy shit. Finally, some good news. What's going on, my How to Buy a Homies? I'm David Sidoni. Happy New Year's Eve to you. Or perhaps maybe Happy New Year to you, because maybe you're a New Year's Eve day drinker and you missed the day that this episode dropped because you were already up getting plastered. And you're listening to this some other time in 2026. Now, today's topic is how to make 2026 your year. In this episode, I'm going to give you the housing data. I'm going to give you the housing market trends happening right now that are looking to go into 2026. We're also going to get more and detailed and more current forecasts and predictions for next year. And then I'm going to give you some tangible blueprints, plans, action steps, things to put the leverage back in your hands in 2026. Okay, we're going to start with the data and the trends that happened at the end of 2025 that are opening those 2026 doors for you. Figuratively, and yes, eventually, literally opening doors for you. Now, I went into excruciating detail 4 weeks ago in episode 418. That's the full 2026 housing market prediction and forecast episode. Now, since then, we have seen several patterns continue, and that's the first thing that any aspiring first-time homebuyer should be looking at. No, wait, hang on, check that. In fact, it's not the first thing. Let me give you a brief preamble before I get into telling you all about the patterns, the trends, and the analysis, because this goes first before looking at all that stuff. If you're listening to this, 98% of you should not give a damn about trying to time your purchase in 2026. That's the main takeaway after we looked at all the data. See, for 20 years now, thanks to the math of a rent replacement strategy, I have been shouting to anybody that will listen, no matter what the market is doing or what people are predicting the market to do, your average first-time home buyer, there is no math that shows that waiting or trying to time the market is going to save you money. Period. The end. Curtain. Since the crash of 2008, the market has had such a low inventory shortage combined with the high to regular demand to buy housing that the worst that we're going to see in the next few years is a minor correction, not a crash. So the math of waiting or trying to time the market to try to get some kind of deal, it doesn't make sense. And it's not because I'm all pie in the sky and rosy. It's math. The only irrefutable math that's out there that benefits you is for you to stop renting as soon as possible and to start reaping the rewards, even if it feels like a quiet win at first. And I 100% stand behind that statement. And I've been preaching this since 2010, 2011, but this is the way it's been. And everyone who has heeded the advice of jumping in sooner rather than later, they are better off financially. Period. The end. Curtain. Years ago, I even bought www.getoffyourass.org, and I still own it today because I've seen the math. And I have all the first-time homebuyer data to back it up. It's math, analytics, and it just works in your favor because crashes aren't going to happen. Resets and corrections are going to happen. Now, I've previously gone on all the details of that in other episodes of the podcast, but today, let's just get to the forecast for next year and help you understand how you can take advantage. Because if you believe what the economists are telling you, the data that we have, the low inventory and the high demand, we can look back since 2010, and no one who bought a home has been worse off in 3 years or 5 years. And in that same time, every renter who discovers that they could have purchased a home 3 years ago or 5 years ago, they end up in the fetal position of regret when they see the numbers of what they missed out on. So what's crazy now is there are trends happening at the end of 2025 and into 2026, there's going to be numbers and they're going to exemplify this philosophy of getting in really, really loudly. Let me sum up the next 15 or 20 minutes of the trend analysis that I'm going to give you all the predictions and the forecasts. I'll do the whole thing for you right now. The 2026 housing market will look like this. Prices will stay flat. Mortgage interest rates will stay about the same. Rents will increase 2-3%, and affordability to buy a home is going to improve. That's it. I'm going to give you all the details, but basically, gang, you can stop this podcast and go listen to something else and learn about another topic. So if you're waiting because you think that something's going to happen that's going to be a better deal, there is no better time coming for you. And the reason is because every month that you pay rent, you could be instead building your wealth as a homeowner. So let me say once again with love, get off your ass and start pre-planning today. Not because I want to sell you a house so I can pay my mortgage, but because for almost 7 years now, I've been educating and empowering the public on the options that are available to them. And right now in 2026, there's a better opportunity for you to get a win. So we'll start with the most recent details from The Economist and take a look at the trending data that we've seen in these last couple months of this year. Starter home sales are up 5% in the last couple of months of this year. Now, why is that valuable information? It's more than just it going up. Let me explain. The end of the year, that is usually not a time when we see increases. Because at the end of every year, we see a big slowdown after Halloween. Not a lot of people want to be buying and selling homes during the holidays. So the fact that we're up 5%, that's unusual for every year because seasonally, we end up going down at this time of year. And then when you tack that trend on to the trend of 2025, which was a horribly down year for first-time homebuyers and starter home sales, well, now even a modest increase of 5%, that is going totally polar opposite of two trends that should be happening. Things should be slowing down. But instead, we're 5% up in sales. So that's something to keep an eye on as we roll into 2026. Now, what about home prices? That's been interesting. In the summer, there was a crazy split at the end of the summer. Some regions, like the Northeast and the Midwest, they had prices that were going up, while parts of California, Texas, and Florida, they saw prices go down. And over the last few months of the year, what we saw is that no matter if they'd gone up or down, everybody stayed flat for the last couple months here. We're talking plus or minus 1%. And it was, depending on where your regional split was, it's just staying right there. Now, this is the beginning of the flat predictions for 2026. I like to say that, I wish that the markets moved precisely when we flip the calendar over to the next year, but it doesn't. So all the predictions that you're hearing about the flat market in 2026, it's not something that starts on January 1st. It's already started for 6, 8, some places 12 weeks. And another pattern that we're seeing here at the end of 2025 is interest rates dropped steadily from June to September. That means interest rates went down from like 6.8 down to about 6.3. But once again, the flattening that everyone's predicting for next year, it's actually happened over the last 3 months, where we're averaging 6.25% for your mortgage interest rate without a lot of fluctuation. And the last statistical pattern that we're seeing, this one is really good for first-time home buyers because everything's flat and wages are at least going up a little bit. Affordability has increased in the last 3 months of 2025. Now, those analytics, they calculate wage increases against home prices and interest rates. And like I said, interest rates have been steadily dropping since the summer. So affordability, your number's up. And if prices stay flat, affordability is only going to increase. All right, so now we've got the trends. Let's see what the economists are forecasting for 2026. The first one I've got is from the Compass Intelligence Housing Market Outlook, which detailed an expected gradual increase in affordability this year, but they were quick to point out that they didn't see this happening because of a dramatic price drop. Most of the time, when you get increased affordability, people expect that, it's because prices dropped or interest rates dropped. No, in this case, they're expecting affordability to go up because we're going to have an extended period of flat home prices, rising income, and moderating mortgage rates. They're predicting the prices are going to be flat this year, up only a modest 0.5%. That's 0.5%. And they think interest rates are going to be staying in the low 6% range. Now, once again, when I talk about interest rates at the low 6% range, because right now I think, at the end of the year, they're close to 6.25. Once again, I want to remind you that number, that interest rate average of the national mortgage interest rate, that's the average. And I can assure you that we've had buyers working with unicorn teams when rates were at 7%, that were getting close down to 5%, 5.9%. And now that rates have dropped to 6.3, we have a lot of buyers that are getting 5.5%, when they're looking at their final complete mortgage interest rate because they're working with a team that helped them discover better options than the average buyer. So the average is 6.25, but you're working with the right team, you're probably going to end up below 5.9. Another great point from this report is something that I've been reporting on since 2024. This is what we call the mortgage rate lock-in effect, or the golden handcuffs on the would-be sellers. So starting in 2023, millions of homeowners were thinking about maybe moving their home, but they had a 3% mortgage interest rate, and suddenly rates jumped to 7 or 8%. So even if they're sitting there with $300,000 or $500,000 worth of equity, they just couldn't fathom selling that 3% mortgage interest rate and buying a new home, even with a gigantic down payment, because they'd still be paying 7 or 8% on their new mortgage. So they stayed put. They stayed locked in. Well, things have changed a little bit. And as of the fourth quarter, 2025, the average interest rate on anyone who still has a mortgage on their home, it's 4.4%. So that means we're seeing a lot less people with 3% and a lot more people closer to the 6% today. And you want to stack on top of that, it's been 2 full years since rates jumped 8% and locked all these people in. And people are slowly getting used to seeing 6% as the new normal. And that average homeowner with a 4.4% interest rate, they are much willing to sell if they know, well, you know what, maybe I get 5.5 when I buy the house. Because you know what? They've been waiting for 2 years. Life happens. Families grow. Families break up. Job opportunities might be happening in a new city. People still got to move. So the lock-in effect is fading fast. And that means more inventory for first-time homebuyers. Now, the next prediction comes from Redfin. For 2026, they think prices are going to be up 1%. They say that the Midwest and the Northeast are going to see hotter markets, but of course, that's hot relative to flat expectations. So it's not going to be crazy going up, at least we hope not. And, they've got a booming lease market. They're helping a lot of people get rents over on all those Redfin and Zillow and all them. And all those guys are predicting rents to go up 2 to 3% next year. So there's that. Now, I want to make sure I warn you guys, you might hear some crazy numbers when people talk to you about housing. Part of that is because a lot of times people talk about housing sales. I want you to know housing sales doesn't mean squadoosh to you. That means nothing. Who gives a crap? The number of homes sold doesn't matter to you. But they say housing sales are going up 14%. Like that's what Uncle Larry said. That's our NAR chief economist, the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Yoon. I call him Uncle Larry because we're buds. Actually, it's because I quote him all the time. He's forecasting 14% home sales up. That just means more homes sold. Now, when it comes to home prices, NAR and Uncle Larry, they think it's going to go up 4% next year. And they think that's going to happen because people are going to start to see the increased affordability start jumping in and drive the prices up a little bit. There was another article, and it started out like this, quote, "Yet another economist expects to see a kind of reset in the housing market next year with wages growing faster than home prices, mortgage rates staying stubbornly right around 6%, and prices improving 0.1% and a slight improvement in the number of homes sold in 2026, unquote. Yet another source for you, Bright MLS, they predict that mortgage rates, which came in at 6.25% as of fourth quarter 2025, they think that they're going to reach 6.15%, but it's going to take the entire year. Now, eventually, they say that's going to open things up for first-time homebuyers, but I say that's going to open things up for first-time homebuyers who are sitting on the fence, not for you guys. Because remember, 6.25, 6.15, 6.3, those are national average numbers. With the right unicorn team, you're looking at rates at 5.5, maybe even 5.25%. Bright also projected that existing home sales would grow 9% next year. So they're expecting more activity to happen, which means they've got to assume there's going to be more inventory. They think we're going to go up from 4.137 million homes sold to 4.51 million homes sold. See, I told you, do those stats mean anything to you? Not a damn thing. But of course, one thing that they are predicting that does matter to you is they think prices are going to go up 2.2%. Of course, it's going to vary for each diverse regional area. That variation, they set it up like this. They think home prices are going to fall in some southern and western markets throughout Florida, Texas, and the Sun Belt, and the Pacific Northwest, and the Washington, D.C. area, but not significantly, but they are going to fall. That's what they say. They also say they're going to fall in the southern part of the country and in lower Midwest markets. They also say they think things are going to remain stable in the southern part of the country and in lower Midwest markets. That's different because I think there's going to be a rise in other Midwest markets like Chicago, and they definitely see a rise still continuing in New England, which right now it's still pretty much a seller's market. But these variations, when analyzed against a first-time homebuyer equation of renting versus buying, when you're looking at a cost analysis basis, taking all your factors into account, including the rent that you pay, watching and trying to time if your market's going up or down, it's not going to create enough of a financial gain for you to wait it out and try to time things no matter what region you're in. So before I get into the blueprint of how you can make 2026 your year, let me reiterate my message to all you data nerds. Remember, nerd's a term of endearment on this podcast. I'm a giant real estate nerd. But for you out there who've been crunching the data all year and didn't buy because you were waiting for something perfect, I see you. I know you were analyzing the yield spreads, the bond rates, the Fed rate, the jobs data, the inflation CPI, the core CPI, the PCE, the PPI. None of that number crunching that you did while you waited in 2025 saved you any money. Did you notice how when I was giving you all the predictions, I didn't talk about any of that stuff that I just mentioned to you right now? Now, it's not because I ignore that stuff. I wish. I told you, I am an uber nerd, and I study that stuff daily. The reason why it's not going to be a factor in 2026 is because mathematically, the forecasts say that nothing is trending crazy out of whack. Nothing's going to skew enough to make a difference, especially when you do your full rent replacement formula. All the top economists see is an epic battle with the administration. They're going to be fighting to keep the economy in good standing, especially with midterms coming, creating a flat housing market. Now, that's not a political statement. Like I said, I don't do red or blue on this show. I just do green. All administrations try to do that. And right now, we've been seeing everybody through the last Democratic president and now into this Republican president. Boy, they are doing a hell of a job at manipulating and creating artificial markets. So if you're looking at all that data and you're expecting something to happen in that, forget the minutia. Your only equation that matters, your real math, is a rent replacement strategy. It shows that if you stuck around in 2025 because you were waiting for something, all you did was waste another year paying rent with minimal changes in home prices or mortgage interest rates. And next year looks like it's going to be even more minimal than that. Flat is where it's at in 2026. So the math says that waiting for some sort of magic moment to lower things isn't coming. You can study all the other data points you want. I've got one that trumps them all. Demand and inventory. Okay, wait a minute. That's two. Anyway, I stand by what I said. Buyers' numbers are down right now, but things are going to pick up in 2026. And in a recent survey, 88% of buyers said that they want to buy a home in 2026. So that means with the supply we've got, the inventory, so low, the only data point that you need to know about with that demand coming is that one very, very important data point. Say it with me now, low inventory. So unless a bajillion homes come on the market, the demand is going to work right with the number of homes that come out, and that's why they're predicting things to be flat. RE/MAX was the one that dropped that 88% of buyers want to start out here in January. And one of the things that they noticed was an uptick in a desire for buyers were looking for community or walkability just as much, sometimes even more than the consideration of the actual home, house, or condo itself. So they're expecting people to really make a move. And then Realtor.com reported that homebuyer regret, which was at 15% in 2023, it dropped this year to only 8%. And while I was going down that rabbit hole, I found another article. It listed the 5 things that could lead to buyer's remorse and how to avoid them. So I'm going to give you their list, give you their 5 things, and then I'm going to tell you how to avoid them. But I want to let you know, most of the tips that they gave you to avoid them, they were, shall we say, subpar. See, the deal is most of these things are so easily avoidable. When people do have these regrets, it almost always happens because they jump into the process without doing the pre-planning and without doing the investigation before they hire their team. It's that damn simple. I get so just hurt inside when I hear people say, oh my God, I was buying a house and this happened. I had no idea when, fill in the blank. Because almost every time it's something that should have been discussed months ago. This is not something that should have been discovered in the contract or during the process. This is something that should have been worked with their team well ahead of time. So here's the list. I'll give it to you right now. This will help you so you can succeed in 2026. First regret, regretting a home that's too small. This is a weird one because I empathize and I always tell people, don't go crazy. Don't get out of your comfort zone. So let me just tell you the story that I've heard over and over again. I see a lot of people that are concerned about their new payment being a stretch. A lot of times they haven't done all the math, but when they get a chance to see all the math, they can understand it. I truly don't want anyone to feel house poor. And a lot of times I'll break down the math. And if they're not down with it, they're not down with it. But after 20 years of serving and coaching first-time home buyers, more often than not, I hear from people a couple of years after they bought the house, sometimes 3 years or 4 years. So they owned a home and they say, you know what, David? We should have stretched and gotten that extra bedroom because now that we've been paying the mortgage for a few years, it's getting easier and easier. And, we didn't really feel house poor the first year, and we definitely don't now because we've been paying just this fixed payment. So if you don't want to regret buying a home that's too small, just work ahead. I can't get more fancy than that. Know your numbers. Work ahead with a unicorn realtor and a unicorn lender. Get those projected numbers. Don't do open houses first, math later. You're going to find a lot of solutions. And some of them, maybe it looks like on paper it might sting today, but in the long run, project everything out and you'll see most of the time, if you've got the right team working with you, you're going to be just fine. So you might want to do a little extra stretch. Regret number 2. Regretting a poor location choice. Dude, this one is so easily fixable. Work with a team that you trust months before you start writing offers. Done. That'll never happen to you if you do that. Do all the due diligence. Drive the neighborhoods at night. Drive them on weekends. Don't forget, if you're by a school, drive them during school drop-off hours. Check it out late at night. Check it out early in the morning. Do your research. Stock everything online. And for the love of all things holy, do not fall in love with the home first if you don't know anything about the neighborhood. In fact, there's a whole bunch of great tips on how to shop for your home in all the interview episodes. You can find those in the episode guide, which I believe JT is going to put in the show notes. Number 3 on the list, unexpected renovations and expenses. This one is so easy to avoid. All you do, hire a killer unicorn team, people who know how to navigate the home inspection process. Easy. Okay, number 4 on the list, you got mortgage payments that strain your budget. Another one, super easy. Know your numbers, period. Don't go out and look at open houses until you have worked for months with a lender and run all your numbers. Start early. Hire a savvy lender and do not just shop interest rates when you're hiring your lender. It can save you tens of thousands of dollars by hiring someone based on them being a savvy financial strategic advisor who can explain the entire process to you and show you all of your options. So you want to avoid mortgage payment regrets? Know your numbers, work with a great team. Regret number 5, hidden defects like mold and structural issues. Well, this is the same answer as the unexpected renovations. Hire the best, and your home inspection is going to illuminate all of your answers for you. Know whether you stay in the deal or bail. All right, now that you've heard about the forecast and you've heard what some buyers have had regrets about in the past, what can we do to make 2026 your year? A lot of times on the podcast, when I answer a question like this, I'll say truth bomb. And I've realized that's a terrible name because I'm always giving you the honest truth. When I say truth bomb, I should say a bomb that might be a little bit hard to swallow, but I tell you this is the truth even if it stings a little bit because I'm always giving you the honest stuff. So here's honestly what's going to happen in 2026. It's going to be nothing special for first-time homebuyers. There will be no 3% mortgage interest rates. There won't even be 4s. And for some people, they're going to have a hard time finding 5s, but not for you. There's going to be no huge price reductions. There's going to be nothing that your average buyer would jump off the couch and get super stoked about and run out and try to buy a home. But you know what? That's the average buyer. You're not average. You're here. So for you, I've got some good news. It sucked for the last couple of years for first-time homebuyers. Yet we have thousands of stories of listeners who've had great experiences are now homeowners. Some of them went through the unicorns. Some of them took this information, got educated, and they figured out how to do it on their own. As long as you're following what we're giving away here, that's the stuff that makes things happen. Now, I could lie to you, and I could tell you, 2026, there's going to be this, and this, and this, and now you're finally going to get the deal you're waiting for. But I'm telling you, gang, that's just a sales technique used by desperate realtors or lenders that are trying to capture you. They want you to help them pay their mortgage. So they're trying to get you excited about Well, nothing, because the reality is 2026 is going to be pretty boring. But the process of doing a home, when you do this right, that's what gets really exciting. I mean, even through the tough times, we had people succeeding with flying colors. They adopted the rent replacement mentality, and then they hired a badass unicorn team. And as we were going through the years, I lost count of how many people I interviewed who bought a home in 2025 said, man, it was so much easier than I thought thanks to my support team. I guarantee you could easily win the backyard football game if you had Josh Allen and Travis Kelce on your team. Now, look, I understand they don't play on the same team, but Patrick Mahomes blew his knee out, so I replaced him with Josh while he heals up. Now, for 2026, it's going to be even easier for you because of these extras. These are the things that are going to help you this year. 1, a flat market. Now, that means sellers are going to get more realistic with their pricing. We had a lot of sellers overprice their home at the end of 2025. And in 2026, they're like, oh man, it's going to be awesome. Well, come March, April, May, when they see the houses aren't selling for $50,000 more than they used to, reality is going to set in. Number 2, lenders, they're going to have new down payment assistance programs, and they're going to have better loan options available for you as the rates stabilize. Number 3, in fact, something really exciting is happening January 1st. This is a real 2026 thing. The FHA loans means homebuyers can put down as little as 3.5%. The limit on how high those loans can go, it's increasing. In low-cost markets, FHAs are going to be able to go up to, get ready for this, don't ask me how they came up with this number, $541,287. This is always how these loan limits have been for FHA loans. They pick the most arbitrary, bizarre numbers. So that means in low-cost areas, that's going to be more than enough for you to be able to use this incredible loan product. And in high-cost areas, we're talking like New York, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., it's going to $1.249 million. And then one more crazy exception, in Alaska and Hawaii, because they recognize the higher construction costs in those states, it goes up to $1.87 million. $1.87 million, and you only have to put 3.5% down. That's crazy. Advantage number 4 in 2026, flat housing market and flat interest rates means no surprises. I've seen this happen all the time because I've been selling for the last 20 years and home prices have been going up and surprises come out and they suck. Imagine people who've been saving for 6 months and they had their original idea of saving for a $400,000 house. By the time they get to the end of the 6 months, suddenly that house is $450,000. So now all their calculations for the down payment and the closing costs, they're all jacked up. But in a flat market, flat is your friend. You can save, you can strategize. And while you're doing that, you can go over all your best options with the general assuredness that your plan's not going to get blown up by prices or rates jumping up. Advantage number 5, people are tired of waiting, sitting in their homes, wanting to sell, but they didn't. So this should mean more inventory as all those locked in folks look to break free of their 4% golden handcuffs and go get a loan at 5.5 or 6%, and they don't care. They're ready to do it. They need to do it. They're going to put their homes on the market. That's more inventory for you. Advantage number 6, new home builders. They are offering some sick incentives here at the end of 2025. And odds are it's still going to keep going into the first few months of 2026. The details, I talked about this in episode 392. We'll put that in the show notes. One thing about this, depending on how demand and the amount of people that are going out buying homes, this might not last because builders, we know one thing about them, they're greedy. And the minute they start to see buyers coming to the market, those incentives will be gone. We're talking cash back. We're talking loans of 3.9 and 4.9%. Some people have gotten 10, 20, 30,000 bucks back from the builder. And advantage number 7, with all that's going to be happening in 2026, there are advantages and it can really be your year. Start with the mindset of the rent replacement strategy. That's episode 388. If you've already listened to it, I encourage you to listen to it again right now because it's going to help tremendously for you to really wrap your head around the big picture advantages because you're going to be buying with no big splash. There's not flashy headlines about, ooh, great time. It's going to be ho-hum. It's going to be flat. It's going to be boring. 2026, for real estate headlines, the only thing they're probably going to say is, meh. So after you listen to that one, listen to The Last Lease Ever, episode 389, and then I'm telling everyone I can right now, listen to episode 426. It's part 7 of the How to Financially Prepare to Buy Your Home series, and it's all about your low down payment options. It's all there. It explains how most people are overestimating their closing costs by 50 or 75%. That could change when you think you're really a buyer from 2028 to 2026, just like that. And it's because there's going to be nothing special in 2026. And the best way for you to maximize your purchase isn't by passively waiting for something to happen that goes in your favor so you can jump on it. A lot of people are doing that. They're looking for something to happen and then they're going to react to it. But the best way for you to get your best deal is to use the proven education and coaching that the people have used in these tough years by them getting proactive and then figuring out ways to do it, buying in 2024 and 2025 when most people thought it was impossible. And you're going to have better options for you in 2026. A flat market works for you. This is something you can use to craft the purchase that you've been waiting to do. There's an edge for you right now. Flat and boring, most buyers don't see an edge in it, but you can. I said this at the top of the show. A flat, not drastically increasing market with stable interest rates finally puts the leverage back in your hands. No surprises. If you're ready to start your planning now to make 2026 your year, go to howtobuyahome.com. You can ask me a question. There's a spot to just ask David, or you can just say, dude, I'm ready. Ask me for a unicorn team and let's get your plan started. And if you need some time, that's fine. One of the things that we've been doing for years now, offering something to renters that nobody else does, it's planning. And planning through clarity, months, even years before you're ready to buy, because the planning process isn't something that you should do all on your own. We help you build a roadmap with simple action steps so you can start today and you can get a simple, positive forward progress. I hope this helped. And if it did, do me a favor, drop a review on Apple, Spotify, or Google. I don't want to be your realtor. I just want you guys to review so that as many renters as I can out there can find this material, because I want people to stop waiting for the markets to come to them. And I want you to do the same thing. Don't wait. You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.